Hi, my name is Jyoti Sharma and I work for EY. I lead digital transformation for our clients in our workforce advisory practice. What that means is all the technology-enabled transformations, whether it's with SAP, SuccessFactors, AI-enabled transformations are part of my remit. And I interact on a day-to-day basis with the C-suite and the key business stakeholders, figuring out how are they responding to the disruption that's happening in their industry. I think that's a very important question that all businesses have to answer, and a number of issues that businesses are facing, but there are some key emerging themes. And I want to take us to the evolution of computing and how that has impacted the way we are looking at our businesses and how we have to respond to the market. So when computers got introduced in the 20th century, they reduced the cost of arithmetic. And now we introduced to artificial intelligence. That's reducing the cost of prediction. But as a business, for you to leverage that, you really need to understand what your business is. Because I firmly believe that, the age-old practices and the operating logic that you had for your business is changing dramatically. So the key question is, where is your starting point in order for you to transform? What is going to be the criteria that determines the capital allocation of your costs, and what is that critical path that's going to keep you competitive, ahead of your customers, and at the same time understanding this entire upheaval that the technology is bringing about. So that's point number one. The second issue, I'm quite fascinated. I don't know if you know about Jeremy Rifkin, but he is a renowned economist, and he, in his latest book that's called The Zero Marginal Cost Society, he talks about the Internet of Things and the emergence of the collaborative commons and the eclipse of the capitalist economy. What he basically says is the foundational operating logic of a capitalist economy was that you assumed there was a competitive marketplace. Now, he forecasts that with the technological innovations that are happening, we may reach a point that economists call a point of optimum general welfare. What that means is your marginal cost is diminishing and goes to zero. Now, we all know that in a market exchange economy, profit is made at the margins. But and marginal cost is defined as the cost of producing additional units if your fixed costs remain the same. So think of a place we arrive when the fierce competition forces us to adopt even leaner technology such that our marginal cost is zero. In that form and in that place, the profit starts drying up. So I think every business needs to understand how this Internet of Things is going to impact their commercial models, is going to impact what that connected persona of their business offering to the market is, and also think about how they are being received by their consumers. And of course, the consumers are, undergoing an ever-changing change in terms of psychological, economic, and ecological factors. So that's the second point. So I think it's quite fascinating. It's important for companies to consider what is the end game? What is this all leading to? Yeah. The third thing is, which I have seen often in the transformations that I work with customers, is there's a shredding of the vertical value chains, and there is an emergence of horizontal value chains. And as a customer, we are going from preferring access to ownership. I don't own a car in London. I had a car when I was in the States. I don't feel the need, not just because of public transportation, but I can easily rent a Zipcar whenever I need a car, right? So I think it's very important for businesses to see that collaborative commons and the sharing economy, that concept, how is that playing out in their industry, and what are the partnerships and the alliances that they need to consider, which may be completely off from their core business, but that's where they have to diversify not just their core business line, but their partnerships so that they can continue to be relevant to the customer. So those are, I think, the three biggest issues facing businesses today. And I think it just rolls in all the other tactical and strategic objectives that you have to resolve. I think it's a very pertinent question in terms of the leadership themes that are emerging. Clearly, the principles of a responsible leadership do not change, but the way they need to be, the way your leadership role needs to be performed, and the behaviors that need to be demonstrated, I think, changes in the current context where we are. The big question for me as a leader, and I think for every leader, is how will you respond to this technologically induced upheaval? There is clearly an upheaval. I mean, any transformation I do, the client says, oh, we have too much going on. Great, you had a business case and then you have too much going on, and that business case goes out of the window. And before you know, you're back to square one, where you don't know again what your priorities are because the world has changed, right? So how will a leader respond? And every leader is grappling with this core issue. That gets converted into multiple strategic and tactical objectives that a leader has to respond to. So, running a profitable and sustainable business with a motivated and engaged workforce, a workforce that for the first time has at least up to 5 generations in your workforce, a mosaic of skill sets. Most of them are becoming redundant with the AI revolution. So with this entire, its entire crucible of challenges that the leadership has, the key theme is, with all the pressures, are you able to pause and reflect and respond instead of reacting to the business? So I think that's an important theme that I'm seeing. Is there a right or a wrong answer? Probably not. We are more in an area of gray, and I think leaders are figuring it out as they go. So that's just the first one. I think the second one is I use the analogy of an atomic structure when I look at an organization. So very quickly, a quick brief just to refresh our chemistry lessons. So in an atom, you have a nucleus, which has a proton, a positively charged neutron, no charge. And then you have shells around it with electrons, which are negatively charged. At any point for that atom to exist in its state, the positive and the negative charges have to be balanced. Now, if you take that analogy and extend it to an organization with the leadership being in the nucleus, the positive charge of the leadership in the nucleus has to constantly balance the negative charges that are around it. And those negative charges could be in terms of your challenges regarding your people, your process, competition, ecological factors, the list is endless. So how, as a leader, are you able to constantly create that positivity, create the inspiration within your organization, both internal and external, is key. The third point that I feel is important as a leader is your title does not make you a leader. I'm a firm believer and practitioner of this. And I think in the current context, it becomes truer than ever. So for me, as a leader, what is the inner space from which you are acting and performing your role is important. And I know it has a philosophical twist to it, but I think it's important. Thoughtful and swift decision making cannot come without a clear mind. And getting that clarity of mind, I mean, we are talking about meditation and yoga. There is a reason why these things have emerged in the corporate context. So getting that clarity of mind with your pressures that you have is important for me as a leader, and the leaders that I get inspired by and look up to are actually leaders who are able to do that. It's in process. It's a work in progress, and your challenge is just sharpen your skills. So I think those are the three key things which, for me, it's not about giving an adjective or an adverb to how a leader should be. It's how can you mold yourself with the changing situation. For me, personally, I feel that being a leader has been a big part of the evolution and the transformation that I've gone through, both as a person and a professional. And for me, it started very early from the school level, and it's been a rewarding journey. Wouldn't trade off with anything else. But I think but also the North Star is to be a business stateswoman or a statesman. We have to consider the impact of our decisions on the political, economic, social, and ecological factors for generations to come. So I think that's important.